Notts County Talk, player ratings after we have won 1-0 away at Weymouth. It's the game I predicted a 3-0. Could have been on another day, but it's nice to get the third consecutive clean sheet and another win under our belts. Eli Sam scoring the winner. Dominant for 85-90% of the game. They didn't really offer too much. A couple of fantastic saves by Slocum, but really they made the most of their chances and could have scored both, actually. The couple of chances they had, they did actually make really good positions and should really have scored both, but for Sam Slocum. I think it's difficult. I think we're all expecting these big 3-0 wins. I think, personally, a lot of teams, and you heard the way the Weymouth manager was speaking, saying how big a club Notts were. A lot of teams they're just wanting to come and get a point. Weymouth haven't been this high before. They haven't played a team like Notts. They want to take a point at their ground against Notts. You saw Solihull came and they did not want to lose. Part of that's because of where they want to achieve, but they didn't want to lose against Notts. So teams are starting to set up really, really negatively. I mean, even when Weymouth were chasing, they were still trying to hit us on the counter because they knew if they opened up, we could have scored another couple. So, yeah, I think, yes, we have to break teams down a lot better. Yes, we have to be more creative. But at the end of the day, we're facing what a lot of teams, bar maybe Torquay and Stockport, aren't facing. They're not facing teams sitting in and happy to sit in for 70, 75, 80 minutes and then try and go for it. And I think in some cases, like Solihull, we did rely on them tiring a little bit, and we've just got to find a way to break them down. So going to the player ratings, Sam Slocum, he's going to get my highest rating, 8.5. I think didn't have much to do, stayed switched on for the whole game. The first save after we'd taken the lead, incredible. I mean, he should have scored. The striker should have scored, but it's passed across goal. He's just got to tap it in. And Slocum, as Slocum is, makes an absolutely brilliant save. Reliable. Absolutely fantastic from him. And you've got to say, we got the 3 points down to his saves in the end. So 8.5 for him. Kelly Evans, he's just blending in now, isn't he? He just does so well every game. You can't really pick fault with anything he does. Not as attacking as usual, but he did a fantastic job. He's part of a defence that got a clean sheet, so for Kelly Evans, it's got to be a 7.5. Move on to Rawlinson. I'm going 7.5 for him, and I'm also going 7.5 for Lacey. Again, it's a defence that's not had too much to do. We've played out of defence pretty decently, but when there has been something to do, a couple of times, we could have been a bit better. Did they switch off a little bit? I'm not sure. There was a couple of times when I thought, right, we look a little bit exposed here because the defenders aren't in that line of four or we've been broken on quickly, and I'm not quite sure we're set up perfectly. But at the end of the day, I can't give anything less than a 7.5 because the clean sheet's there. Lacey and Rawlinson getting that partnership strong and protected Sam Slocum for the majority of the game well. Final defender is Miller, and he's getting an 8 from me. I thought he looked fantastic. I think we've spoken on this channel that we'd quite like him to move further forward and see what he's got attacking wise. Spoke with George whilst the game was on. I now don't want to see that. I want to see Miller stay in that fullback position. He looks athletic, quick, good defensively, very good going forward. I think if he stayed there all season, I'd be absolutely delighted. I'd be happy for him to stay in that position. And I can't see anyone taking it off him. He's more natural that side than putting a Kelly Evans or a Brinley. So for me, Miller gets an 8. Very, very good performance, and I think he's growing every single game. Moving on to Reeves then in midfield, I go Reeves and Doyle. Reeves didn't have the best of games against Solihull, but sort of picked up towards the end. I go for a 7 today. He looked a bit better. It's a game him and Doyle should be absolutely dominating every single time. And to be fair, they did do pretty well. I think they could have controlled it a little bit more, but not a massive amount went through them today. I did mention the defence were exposed a couple of times. I think that's just because we were so dominant that they sort of got dragged forward a little bit more. So I'm going to give him a 7 for Reeves. And his partner Doyle, now, big fan of him, but his standards are slipping slightly for me. I'm going to give him a 6.5. He gave the ball away for their big chance with a sloppy pass. Should have done a lot better with that. But I don't know. I get that he's an absolute machine, he's an engine. But I've tweeted this earlier today. There's got to be opportunities for other players. because what happens if Doyle gets a suspension or injured? There's no chemistry built between players, and I feel like this is a game we were so dominant attacking wise. I feel like it's easy to say at the end of the game, but if Doyle hadn't have played and we'd seen someone like Wolf in the middle, I don't think it would have really changed the result. I don't think Doyle was fantastic. I'm going to give him a 6.5. Just rest him. If the season is to continue, and fingers crossed it is, we've got an absolute backlog of fixtures coming up. And I want players to be interchanging in that. You've got a great opportunity today, all respect, away at Weymouth. A game you're expected to win, and we should have won 2 or 3-0. It's a chance for Matty Wolf in that situation. I'll go on to talk a little bit later about Knowles, but for me, that's the opportunity. That's the opportunity to bring in Matty Wolf. I don't know. I don't think Doyle was fantastic, so 6.5. Let's go to Enzio. What a bit of confidence does for that man is incredible. Gets the assist very well against Solihull, and he gets an 8 from me. He was a threat. He was taking shots from far out. He was getting constantly into those positions. He could today have got a 10, because the amount of assists he could have had if that final ball was better, he could have had 4 or 5 assists. So for me, Enzio gets an 8. Getting in those positions, he's back to almost his best. Just need to see a couple of goals from him to improve that. Rodriguez, 7.5. I think he was good. We see flashes. His first touch is fantastic. We saw him take right down one on his chest, and just by taking the ball on his chest, literally made himself 5 or 6 yards. He's just a live wire. He drifts. He does what he needs to do. He's a threat. Defenders don't know how to defend against him. Again, he's still an unknown quantity in a league where he's not actually been in for very long. So 7.5 Rodriguez. He's becoming better and better each game, I think. Just need to again see a couple of goals from him. We saw his against Maidenhead how well he finished that in that game, so just got to see that. Sam, now did he mean that? If he did, it's an incredible goal. I wanted Jimmy Knowles to start. I said I was happy with Sam starting because I understood, Ardley's got things right lately. So that being said, I'm going to go for an 8 for Sam. It was a very good goal to win the game. Could easily be an 8.5. I think he didn't offer a mass amount of joy in the game, but for what he did do, he's got the winning goal. I can't say any more than that. I hope he grows in confidence. We see these flashes. We do see flashes of absolute brilliance from him. If he could do that consistently, he'd be a very, very, very dangerous player in this division. But for some reason or another, he's not getting those starts. Now, has he done enough to warrant a start next game? Possibly, but I don't quite understand Ardley's mentality of earning starts, because for me there's a couple of players that haven't performed badly, but they could just be rotated just to see how others do in less high risk games like today. But Sam, very good, gets the goal. Wootton for me gets a 7, does the hard work, does the closing down, does the battling, draws a lot of attention as you would when you're the top goal scorer with 8 goals. Very good performance, 7. That just takes the 2 subs. So Effiong, I'm going to give a 6. Didn't offer too much, a couple of nice dribbles, but again, wasn't on that much. And then that leaves the final sub, Jim O'Brien. I'm going to go 7 for Jim. Great tackle in the midfield twice to win the ball back and stop a break. I was impressed with him when he came on. You know what you're going to get with him. And in a game against Weymouth on a pitch that's not fantastic, he was the right sub to bring on in that situation for Rodriguez. So overall, it's another win. It's a 1-0 win. I'm hoping the season's going to continue, because it feels like we're getting the momentum again. We're starting to play well. We've got clean sheets coming. We've got goals now, 3 in 2 games. We're just starting to click and tick along. And, teams above us won, bar Sutton. So that's closer to Sutton. It's another team we can leapfrog. All looking good. So, I'd love to know what you think about the game. Did Sam mean it? Let us know that in the comment section below.